Hello, everyone. Thank you for standing by. We'll be beginning our event soon, so please just stay on hold, and we'll get underway in about 1 to 2 minutes. Thank you. Thanks again for holding, everyone. If we can please just continue to stand by for a few more moments, we'll get underway here shortly. Thank you. And just another update, everybody, we'll begin the meeting here in about 1 minute, so please stand by. Thank you. And thanks again, everyone, for holding. We'd like to start our event now. Craig, if you could move us to the next slide, please. Just to start off with a little bit of housekeeping, guys, for our team's live event today. All attendees will be muted throughout the meeting. However, we want you to be very interactive throughout this session. So please raise your questions, noting your company name and who the question is directed to in the Q&A panel throughout the event. And we'll answer those during the break at the end for Q&A. Also, please note that we are recording today's event, and we'll send out a link to the recording, presentation slides, and any resources that we're sharing to all attendees after the event, including maybe folks that haven't been able to attend today that did register. If you have any issues with viewing the screen or the audio, please let us know in the Q&A panel and one of our moderators will assist you. Can we move to the next slide, please? We'd also like to start off with an acknowledgement of country. We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. The Cloud Collective would also like to pay our respects to elders past and present. Next slide, please. So again, everybody, a warm welcome to the final event in our series that we've been doing over the last 4 weeks. It's called The New Workspace and Staying Connected. And this really is about looking at what the physical distancing has been as far as part of our new normal and what we know and how we know that collaboration and human connection has remained more important than ever and what that's going to look like in the new environment as we kind of start coming back to the office. We could go to the next slide, please. So first, we want to start off with a little bit of an introduction to the Cloud Collective and our panel that will be speaking today, Craig Schiffers, Joel Ulrich, and Dan Polifore. So I'll introduce those guys a little bit more thoroughly here in a moment. But today we'll be going through the panel with them and those guys speaking and giving us some great insight and interaction today, and then we'll wrap up with a close. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So as you saw on the previous slide, the Cloud Collective is all about going together. So we focus on providing end-to-end, not point-to-point solutions. So we came together a little over 3 years ago as an alliance of 3 leading Microsoft Gold partners, bringing together complementary technologies and skill sets that we had to give the customers that we were working with a one-stop shop for their Microsoft technology needs, but giving them the ability to have a really boutique experience with those needs, but at the same time, having the muscle and the power of a major consultancy behind them in what they were wanting to achieve and do. And our goal is really to make sure that your teams as customers are enjoying the tools that they use, that they're able to work more productively, communicate better and more efficiently, and really have a greater impact with how they collaborate. As you'll see as well, we have a great amount of gold competencies, and what that means to our customer base is that we're able to work actively with Microsoft, oftentimes working with them on pre-product launches, pre-changes, and getting in and really being able to work with Microsoft at a level that customers need in order to achieve their own goals. If you could please move to the next slide. So when you look at the Cloud Collective from the standpoint of our skill sets, we really come together from Antares on the left there at the application layer and the innovation layer and above, focusing in on great things like all the collaborative elements of the Microsoft stack, so SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, also all the aspects of data and AI, and the powerful things that are coming as a result of the data that we're utilizing and able to access today, and then also helping the customers with the aspect of it, just governance and management of these collaboration tools and platforms, and making sure that sprawl isn't happening and uncontrolled usage of the platforms is not causing more issues than solving problems. So and then finally really integrating a lot of cool new technology and intellectual property into these platforms in the sense of bots and applications and things into the Microsoft Teams window so that you're actually able to utilize that platform for true collaboration at all levels. ICOM is really is right there in the middle of the stack of technology, pulling together all the communication elements, all the rich voice, video, including Telstra Calling for Office 365 and other aspects of calling and enterprise voice into the actual environment of Microsoft. Also helping customers, as you'll see today, really maximize their office space to deliver on that promise of communication and helping customers collaborate better with those platforms. Also providing a managed service and change management and adoption practice across all of the Microsoft stack. And then finally, Quorum is really at that foundational and infrastructure and level and below in the stack, really focusing in on customers who are migrating maybe for the first time into the cloud, or they're looking to transition and move more of their work into the cloud, helping them with all the aspects of security that's required around that, especially with remote working now being such a focus for every customer out there in the market. helping them manage their access and identity, helping them manage the threat protection environments, and then also helping making sure that the Azure infrastructure stack is delivering for them as well. And then they too provide a full managed service at the desktop and at the security level for customers to make sure that they're staying secure in all that they do inside the cloud environments that they're moving into. So together we all come to get to provide an actual innovative solution to the customer, and really value doing that for our customers, and also helping the customers achieve the most that they can from the Microsoft stack. Could you please go to the next slide? So let me introduce our panel today. These guys I've got a lot of great skill sets to share with us, and I'm going to pull up a little script for myself, so just so I don't remember all the great things about them, or forget all the great things about them. So Craig Schiffers is our first speaker today. He's an MVP, a Microsoft MVP. He's also our principal solutions architect. In addition to that, he's a talented public speaker and an organizer of the Sydney Unified Communications Meetup group. So Craig has got a lot of experience historically from what we knew as Skype for Business to Microsoft Teams, and as well as cloud and other technologies. And has been very active in deploying those in over a decade now, and actually designing and implementing really great solutions for the customers that he's worked with. He, as I mentioned, he also runs the UC Meetup group and is an active membership of over 400 industry individuals. And he regularly gives us some great blogs as well, which you can find through his LinkedIn profile. Outside of work, Craig also does some amazing volunteering work with the New South Wales State Emergency Services and the Rural Fire Service. So he's a very active, a very important person in the community, and was very active in the recent bushfire issues that we had last year. So our next speaker is Joel Ulrich. Joel is our senior unified communications engineer at ICOM. He's got a ton of experience in working with the technologies that make unified communication successful, including not only the aspects of Teams and voice and different voice elements and that sort of thing in the Teams environment, but also in-house from a contact center. He's very skilled in that, and it's just really been an absolute asset to us in helping us and helping our customers navigate those environments and get the most out of them. And then finally, Dan Pauly is a head of our training and change management. Dan is very passionate about connecting people and technology to deliver the successful transformations that they're wanting to do. He's also a proud dad to his son, Charlie, and also a talented musician. He's a guitarist, singer, songwriter, and just has just is very, very much known as generally a nice guy to everybody he meets. He's got a great skilled background in training and change management, and has built out our change management practice within the Cloud Collective and the ICOM team. So we're really pleased to have him here today, and to and actually to be speaking and being part of the panel again. He's done another event for us as well in the series, so it's great to have you here, Dan. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over now to Craig to kick us off for our discussion with the panel today, and I'll be back with you here later on for the Q&A session. So Craig, please go ahead.
Great, thanks for that, Eric, and thanks so much for the very warm introduction. You've certainly pumped my tires up this morning. Let's talk about the new normal. What is the new normal? People keep throwing this term around. I think I hear it at least once a day at the moment. When are things going to go back to normal? Does anyone actually know what the new norm is? I certainly don't. I mean, it certainly feels as though we've gotten used now to bumping elbows with people rather than shaking hands or doing the old leg shake instead. And obviously, the liberal use of hand sanitizer as opposed to, not using hand sanitizer. Hopefully, everyone's still washing their hands. But what is the new normal? Well, for a start, we can say that Teams is definitely the new normal, and Teams usage has grown exponentially. We're looking now, and these numbers, keep in mind, are back from April of this year, 75 million daily active users of Teams. That's up from 13 million active users back in July 2019, so post-COVID. Huge growth in Teams. We're now looking at about 4.1 billion meeting minutes used in one day. That's one heck of a lot of meetings. Everyone on this call has probably been in at least a meeting this week, either in Teams or in another UC product. I certainly spend my day, I feel like sometimes throughout in Teams. So you can certainly see where that very high number, 4.1 billion meeting minutes, comes from just in a single day. But talking about the new normal, well, this is sort of where we've come from, right? That traditional old style of collaboration where everyone kind of comes into a single location. Either clients come to you or you go to them. You all walk into a meeting room, you sit around and you have a chat. And someone potentially who couldn't make it in person might dial in remotely using a conference phone that probably sits in the middle of the desk. Or if you can't get that working, maybe a mobile phone that sits in the middle of the desk. Or maybe you're a little bit more advanced and you've got some VC equipment there. But bringing everyone together kind of in a single room it sort of feels like a thing of a past at the moment, which is a shame really, because looking at that slide, those pastries in the middle there do look kind of good. What we're kind of what we're used to now though is something that looks a little bit like this instead, more sitting behind a desk, connecting up with colleagues virtually instead. I mean, funky ties that we used to wear to the office, they've now been replaced with funky backgrounds instead. So whereas before, I think ties have actually been replaced with funky socks. I don't wear funky ties anymore, but I certainly do wear funky socks. But that's certainly been replaced now with funky backgrounds and Teams instead. Which is a bit of a shame, really. Hey, it would be nice to sort of get back to that kind of face-to-face, in-person contact where possible. We've shifted the way that we work. We've replaced our 30-minute drives to the office in traffic with 30-second commutes from our bedroom to our makeshift office. It might be the kitchen bench, or maybe you've got a purpose-built room in your house if you're lucky for office space. Maybe you share that space with someone else. Some people are adapting to this, though. I know. For me, recently, I wrote a piece on mental health and teams burnout, and some people are approaching this in different ways. Whereas before, we had that shift from leaving the house, leaving the home life behind, getting on the bus, getting in the car, getting on the motorcycle, driving to work, driving to the office. That was our time to sort of do that transition. Of course, we don't have that anymore. So some people, like this gentleman, I brought a picture up on the slide of here, a doctor, I think he's based in Melbourne somewhere, and he starts his day by getting dressed in his suit. He walks out the door, gets into his car, drives for a 5-minute loop around the block and comes back in, gets out the car, walks in the front door, gets his coffee, and that's how he starts his day. That's how he transitions from working at home to then in work mode, as to say. And other people are taking advantage of the fact that they don't have to work in an office space for the moment too by moving. They're leaving the cities. They're moving to pastures green, moving out to the bush. Orange here as an example. If you ever get the opportunity of heading out there, they do fantastic wines. Absolutely highly recommend it. But people are using the ability for being able to, connect from anywhere and work from anywhere to their advantage, and they realize that perhaps they don't need to, live in the city anymore. One thing's for certain, though, this screenshot of Teams, and either using it on an iPad or an Android device, a mobile phone, a desktop, we're all very, very familiar with this interface. We've gotten very used to it over the last couple of months. Whether that's, walking to the shops to grab a coffee, or walking the dog and joining a Teams meeting, or sitting behind a desk like I am talking to you guys now, we're all very, very familiar with this interface. So how do we go from what we've gotten used to being the new norm, being, working in our pajamas, perhaps, wearing a business shirt, but perhaps wearing khaki shorts and thongs, to shifting back into the office? Well, it really comes down to three critical points. The first one is to actually understand your office. Now, that may seem like a bit of a silly point. We all understand our office, right? We all know what it looks like. We know what the address is. What do I mean by that? Well, how the office has been set up prior to COVID, things are going to change. I mean, hot desking is over. Dropping by a colleague's desk to have a chat and a coffee is over for now. If you're in the office, you're probably sat at your desk and you've got to stay there. You can't move around all day. You can't interact with people due to COVID. You kind of got to stay put. And how and where people will work will change over times. Of course, you know, we're so used now to walking into restaurants, walking into pubs, and walking into office buildings as well, and using QR codes and having our temperature checked. Maybe that's what the new normal is. Secondly, work with your people. Make sure that they feel ready to come back into the office environment. That's super important. Is it safe to come back into the office, and how will they get there? It's all well and good opening up the office as we did here in Sydney, but we also have to think about how people get to the office as well. Are they taking public transport? Are they driving themselves in? And do they feel safe doing that? Are they okay to continue working from home for the moment? And lastly, ensuring that the technology is ready. We built this showroom back in February, and when we walked back into it, we came back in and there was a little bit of work to do to bring those meeting rooms up to date and ensure that they were in a stable and working condition to be used from day one. You don't want your users walking into the office back on day one, trying to join a meeting and experiencing problems. And that kind of falls into the fact that, have you done a health check of your meeting room and your environment in the office? Of course, a lot of that equipment may have been sat there for some time, months, if not even perhaps a year now, and no one's even touched it or used it. So one of the critical things is to make sure that that equipment is up to date, is serviceable, and is working, and is going to work first time flawlessly. And we're here to help with that. We understand the challenges. I spoke about the fact that when we walked into this office, had it been dormant for a few months, we encountered those problems as well. We understand that you know, the equipment that is left untouched for a while needs to be updated. So you know, we understand those pain points as much as you guys, and we have experience in that area of how to manage those endpoints to best get them back up and running and suitable for getting people back up in the office. Now, my two lovely colleagues, Joel and Dan, who Eric's already introduced you to, are here. Now, Joel's here to take us through our brand new showroom here in Sydney. I'm actually sat in it at the moment, but you can only see this part behind me. Joel's going to give you a virtual tour of our purpose-built showroom here in Sydney. It's full of technology that's designed and to show you how you can support you and your people in a post-COVID world. And after Joel, we've got Dan, who's obviously on the call as well, and he's going to take you through what I touched on my last point, which is making sure those rooms and the equipment is healthy. We call it healthy habitats. We want to make sure that that equipment is working from day dot. The very first time that people walk back into that room, it works perfectly first time. Now, if anyone does have any questions, I'm monitoring the Q&A at the moment, so please feel free to use the Q&A if you do have any questions. We're going to leave some time at the end after Dan's presentation to answer any of those questions, so feel free to keep them coming in. Now, without further ado, I will hand over to my lovely colleague, Joel, who will take us on a virtual tour of the office.
Thanks, Craig. I'm just going to share some content now. Just bear with me for one moment.
No problem.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, as Craig said, I'm going to take you through a virtual tour of our ICOM Sydney showroom. So as we walk through, we dedicate our rooms to some famous sports legends and one famous location, which is Bondi Beach. So we're starting at our front door, and we're already using technology here that's integrated with Teams.
No content.
Oh, sorry. My machine's not loving me right now.
That's all right.
Apologies. So we start at the front door. We're already using Teams as our intercom. So we have a Poly CCX 500 as our door. So if we're not there or we're not actively watching the front door, someone can page us. That call comes back through to one of us sitting at the back of the office, which you'll see our work area shortly. Or if for some reason someone's popped out or there's no one around, it should pop out to our mobiles on our Teams client, or lastly our mobile phones. So we're going to move into our foyer. Whoop, and I've skipped past our QR code, which is our COVID safe QR code. It links to a form. We can track our visitors who come and go. We have a range of technology on display as you walk in. Some headsets, some new headsets from Poly and Jabra. Fun fact about Poly, or when it was Plantronics, a lot of their headsets are named after space and space-related items. Do you know they supplied the headsets for the moon landing? So I thought that was pretty cool. Up the top, we have a room system that's just plugged in on display, or not plugged in, sorry, on display. And part of that is the UVC40. So the room system is a Yealink MVC400. We have a little USB bar up the top, which is pretty handy. It can be used by itself. So if you have a room that's just a TV and maybe a computer already, you can grab one of those and plug it in. It'll give you a speaker, a microphone, and a camera. There's some tracking, some smarts built into that camera, and also the audio to try and reduce some of that background noise. Down the bottom on our shelf, there is there's a Jabra Speak, which is a little portable Bluetooth speaker. It's had a lot of good sound. And there's also a Jabra Pentacast in front of it, which is a camera that has 3 cameras built into it. So you can make up a little meeting room, or if you've got a huddle space with, once again, just a laptop or a computer, you can position that in there, maintain that distancing. The camera will focus on whoever's talking and apply that tracking, or it will display a large panorama of the room, which I find pretty cool. We also have in our Bondi room, so this is our Bondi area, our Surface Hub 2, which you'll notice is on a stand. So we will wheel that around, so we can use that in wherever we're presenting from. Great device. For those who haven't played with the Surface Hub, you can either join in as your own and present your own content from your OneDrive, join in as the room. Get a battery for the device as well. So if you want it to be very mobile, the battery can last up to about 100 minutes. So you'll get an hour and a half meeting out of it. It can be used to automatically join in with other meetings as well. So if you had this positioned solely in one meeting room, you can have that when you make a call, instantly drag that Surface Hub into the call. So I'm going to move on now. Move over to our booking panel. So we have some on display just to show off a few different vendors. Some of these panels allow for a swipe card or a swipe fob to be used to book the rooms. It's pretty handy when you want to walk up. You don't have to enter your details in. And the same person or an admin would need to use their swipe card to cancel. So I won't go into detail on the vendors. They can be found in the tour afterwards. Next, we move into our Thorpe room. Sorry. So Ian Thorpe, famous Australian swimmer, 5-time Olympic gold medalist, and he also holds 22 world records. So I watched Ian Thorpe at the 2000 Olympics, and I thought that he was pretty phenomenal back then. Not to say he isn't today. In this room, we have a Crestron Flex 160 running in Teams mode. It can also run in Zoom mode as well. There's a touch panel to control the meeting content as well. Both the screens in this room are both touch screens, so there's some interactivity there as well. We also have Barco ClickShare for a wireless display, so you can either use the dongle, or you can, if you're on the same wireless LAN, you can connect with your laptop to that and present. There's also HDMI input hiding at the back in a little table box. So as we move through, we've got our Bradman room, named after the famous Sir Donald Bradman. 99.94 batting average. He's generally rated as the best cricketer of all time, and he played over 52 tests for Australia. No one really comes close to Don with his batting average, so I think the next closest was about 64% or so in that area. Click in and display. In this room, we're trying to showcase a multi-vendor audio video solution. So in this room, this is I guess our centerpiece. It's got all the bells and whistles. So there's room controls built in on the tablets that are on the desk. We can control the lighting. If we had windows in this room, we can control the blinds. We can control pretty much anything. It can be programmed to support almost anything. Some Sennheiser directional microphones up the top there, so that's pretty cool. It will try to zone in on who's talking in this room. So as you can see, we're spaced out a little bit. In a bigger room, it can be used as well. It'll zoom in, or not zoom in, I guess, because it's not a camera, but it will zone in on those speaking and try to cut out any of the noise around. At the front of the room, we have the Eagle Eye 2, Eagle Eye Director 2 poly cameras attached to a group series, which is hidden in our cupboards. Orchestrating this room is a Crestron, is Crestron at the back end. There's a Crestron controller also hiding into there. This room also has Zoom capability, so we can swap between the group series device and a Zoom PC. I know this is all about Teams, but we support multi-vendor. So the group series is using Teams Cloud Video Interrupt to join in those meetings. Happens pretty seamlessly. We have multiple inputs in this room for content. So there's there's Barco via USB dongles. There's Air Media, which is a Crestron technology for wireless display as well. There's HDMI in the table boxes. There's one-touch join via the tablets as well, so you can just walk into the room, hit the one-touch join, much the same as the Thorpe room. It'll display on the Teams panel in the Thorpe room. There's PSTN calling available in this room as well. If you've got your contacts, we can program contact into this room as well. So if you had a number you're calling quite often as a quick call. We often wheel that Surface Hub into this room as well to use as whiteboarding while we're presenting. So a great room. It's designed for either as a boardroom setting or a training room or conference room. I'm going to move on. So we're going to jump into our Bondi room, which I don't think this picture is going to do much framing. So in this room, it's an open event space used for all sorts of things. So up the top, to the top left, we have a nice PTZ camera, so pan tilt zoom camera, in ceiling Crestron speakers, which put out quite a bit of sound. We've got wireless microphones, Sennheiser microphones in this room. There's a handheld mics and clip-on mic packs as well. The screen is a 110-inch LED display, which presents beautifully. Behind that, we have LED lights as well to light up the wall, which change color. This room is also driven and controlled by Crestron. So we have our panel to the left there, you can see. We also have Barco ClickShare for wireless presentation. We've got this room can support up to 8 simultaneous displays or inputs on the screen at one time. Can be a little bit overkill, but if you need a couple inputs at a time when you're presenting or training, you could present content on the screen as well as the active speaker. You might have some other content you want to display in the background. We've got BrightSign, which is a technology you can use to have content displayed and control centrally. Chromecast, Xbox, Free-to-Air, Foxtel, all those sorts of things as well. So this room is designed, as I said, as that public speaking area. We have HDMI and USB inputs to make use of a laptop. So a laptop can make use of the room to display on the screen, as well as that camera I mentioned before, which is somewhere around there. We can present that as a Teams meeting, which we often do here to present out for internal meetings and events. So I'm going to walk through the rest of the building. Oh, I didn't give you any trivia on Bondi. Worldwide, it seems to be the most popular or worldwide known beach of Australia. It's also heritage listed, so a nice big mural of Bondi paying homage. Heritage listed in 2008. That's pretty cool. The Bondi baths have been around for about 100 years. I don't think it's displayed in this mural, but I'll move through. So we have our open office space where we have a couple of phones on display. So we've got some Yealink handsets and some Poly handsets around. So these are native Teams phones. All the calling functionality you can think. Next we move on to our Freeman room, named after Kathy Freeman. We often refer to this as our bird cage. It's an open area space that we use when we don't need any privacy. So we can see Kathy Freeman on the wall, and it's not really. We've got Kathy Freeman in her Olympic 2000 green and gold running suit. So Kathy Freeman won gold for us at the Sydney 2000. She's also known for many World Championship and Commonwealth gold medals as well. In this room, we have a Poly X50. It can cover up to about 7.5 meters of distance, but in here, as you can see, it's only a couple, designed for those little huddle spaces. But as with 7.5 meters, you can open that up to a smaller space. It's a 4K camera. and it has built-in framing, so it'll pick up the active speaker and show those. So if you only had one person in the room, the camera would zone in on those. There's the poly beamforming technology for the microphones, which will once again try to block out that background noise and the echo if there is any in the room, and zoom in on that person speaking, which is pretty cool. As you can see, it's an open area, so it cuts out a lot of us when we're sitting in the back and people are in this room. We have a 49-inch commercial screen on the wall. It's an LG commercial screen, and we're also using the one of the poly touch panels to control this the X50. The X50 can support dual screens, so if you wanted to have content always displayed on one screen and the meeting participants on the other, you could do that as well. Built in the bar is also some speakers as well, which put out some pretty cool audio. It can be used with other vendors. It can run in poly native mode, or once again, you could run Zoom on it there as well. It can be flipped between. Sorry. Next room I'll talk about is named after Elise Perry, one of the youngest female sporting stars in Australia. Sorry, represented Australia for both soccer and cricket. She represented Australia for cricket at the age of 16. She holds the highest record of test scores by any woman at 213. The next room is a Polycom, oh sorry, not a Polycom, a Logitech Tap, which is the name of the system. So it includes like an MTR device, the meetup bar we see down the bottom here, the touch screen panel for the desk, and the remote. I'm going to move to the side of the room to display. This room can this Logitech Tap is generally suited for up to 6 people. This room we can comfortably see about 3 spaced out, and the camera and the microphones pick that up very well. We also have a content camera up the top here, which feeds back into the system. So Teams has the ability to take a written whiteboard, or if you're using some sort of a wall paint that can be written on, and display that as the whiteboard inside the meeting. So those on the other end, talking about that hybrid return to work, can still see that whiteboard content and participate. Obviously, it's not going to write up on the board here, but it will display on the Teams meeting. Like the other rooms, like all the Teams rooms, they're one-touch join on the panel. All the Teams rooms we have on display here support beacon joining, so you can walk up with your laptop and make the room join from your laptop. I find that pretty cool. When I'm running late, I walk up to the room and there's a little bar that appears in your Teams client that says invite room or join with meeting room. The camera in here as well is also PTZ, so pan tilt zoom, so it can be controlled to pan around the room. So that brings us to the end of the tour. So one thing to note is we have a little competition going as part of this ICOM event. So hidden in our office is an Eagle Eye Mini, and on the Eagle Eye Mini it will provide you a link to the entry. So because you all joined today, I'll give you a hint. It's in our workspace area somewhere to save you clicking through the whole area. If you click the link, it's an entry to draw to win a Poly Voyager 4200 headset, which is a pretty cool headset. Our showroom is open for bookings as well, so you can find that as well through there'll be some stuff sent out. So there'll be a Q&A in the Q&A section, a link also to this display as well. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I'll hand over to Dan Polifure.
Thanks, Joel. Alrighty. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and especially for joining over your lunch break. Much appreciated for your time and your ears. And I guess while my beautiful face is on the screen there, I'll go back 20 odd minutes or 40 minutes now and thank Eric for that wonderful, as Craig did, that wonderful warm welcome. It's not very often that I get such a wonderful introduction, and usually there's someone rolling their eyes at, what, nice guy to everyone. Please Clearly, you've not met him. But look, I'm not going to take up too much of everybody's day. I'm sure we do all want to get to our lunch. So I'm going to basically pick up where Craig left off. And thank you, Joel, for the virtual tour. I work for the company, and I haven't even seen that office yet. So as soon as we're allowed out of our houses here in Melbourne, I'll definitely be on the first plane up there to have a look at how it all looks in person, and look forward to meeting a whole bunch of you when we're up there. Craig, if we could please start straight away. I'm, like I said, not going to introduce myself again. I'm just going to jump straight into it and start talking about the healthy habitats. So as Craig mentioned, one of the key things that you need to think about upon this return to work and this new normal, this COVID normal that everyone keeps talking about, is how your meeting rooms are going to be, and how your meeting spaces are going to be managed, and how they're looking at the moment. We've got a variety of customers who have had their meeting room technology and their AV technology in place for quite a while. We've got some that we've been slowly and gradually installing and upgrading that technology throughout the COVID period. And both of those scenarios are going to play out very interestingly in the sort of coming weeks and months when people do start migrating closer and closer to returning to the office environment in whatever way, shape or form that might take for your business. To give a bit of background around healthy habitats, this was born out of necessity and out of a really good idea, in that we found that our own meeting rooms and a number of our customers' meeting spaces as well, we were spending a lot of time helping them out in fixing these problems, and it was a very reactive sort of assistance to making sure that things were up to date, or that a microphone wasn't working, a camera wasn't working properly, firmware wasn't updated, and so on and so forth. So this was born out of necessity in the mentality around proactive room testing. And that's why we've got that tagline there, the proactive testing that keeps your room technology working. It really is that simple. What we want to do is help detect and overcome any of the challenges that an organization might face with its meeting spaces, and we want to do that proactively. What we do is tailor a plan to your organization and your meeting rooms, which includes creating a series of tests that your organization can run at any time. On top of it, we can include us assisting you in running those room testing plans on behalf of your organization on an agreed schedule. The idea is that this plan ensures that all of your rooms are regularly updated and tested and maintained, and we keep it regularly documented, so that all of your video conferencing and all the audio-visual solutions are working as reliable as possible, keeping everyone happy and keeping the adoption really high, but also protecting your business's ROI on the meeting rooms. Craig, if we could move to the next slide, please. I'm going to break this healthy habitats section into 4 main pillars. So firstly, the briefing session. When we come in and we start discussing how we're going to run this, it's all about that first briefing session. That's where we kick off, because every company is unique. We want to set the expectations between us and the organization. We want to discuss the known and the unknown of the meeting rooms and agree on specifics. Every company is unique, and in turn, you all want to get something different out of your room testing. So with this in mind, we take the time to sit with you, to get to know what your needs and goals are for the meeting spaces. By us better understanding your people, your organization, and your needs, we can accurately prepare a better testing plan that will perfectly reflect those unique goals when it comes to healthy habitats testing. Next slide, please, Craig. The next pillar for us is the on-site room discovery. So every organization is unique and every space is unique. So to ensure that we're offering the right testing plan and delivering the right outcomes for your team's use of these meeting spaces, we need to best understand the different workflows and the use cases for each of these meeting and collaboration spaces, whatever they may be. So our team takes the time to familiarize ourselves with your spaces and the selected rooms that you want these testing plans built around, so that we can better understand the specific measures we might need to take and put in place for these testing plans. So we analyze the rooms, we discover any specific workflows and uncover any limitations known or unknown for each space and build them in. Moving on is the customized test plans themselves. So every organization is unique, every space is unique, and therefore every plan is unique. We make sure that these plans are custom built for each space and that they're simple and user friendly, and they're easy to run, yet they're comprehensive. So using a combination of our on-site room profiling activities that we run and knowledge gained from our initial briefing, We create the Healthy Habitats room testing plan specific to each different meeting space that we visit and room type that we visit. So this includes testing the capabilities and the functionality of each space, and it also includes making sure that the workflow that this room is being used for is actually going to be tested, rather than just clicking buttons and making sure that, yep, the lights turn on when you press that button. Is that what you want to happen? Is that what the right outcome is going to be? So we take into account the in-room equipment, the user workflow, any best practices that apply, and any room limitations. And our final pillar there is the staff training session. Once the customized test plan has been created and it's been built, and then we get it approved by the relevant stakeholders in the organization, one of our training and adoption specialists will come in and run the training sessions on these test plans for anyone that'll be conducting those testing plans within your team. We recommend as many people as possible get across this, because then what you'll do is make sure that everyone understands how to use the rooms accurately. But you'll also find that people start being able to troubleshoot naturally on their own without needing these test plans moving forward. We'll make sure that we walk your team through each of these customized test plans, so in a step-by-step and really controlled basis. But we'll also offer the ongoing support. So the team are able to call us whenever they need help. They might be confused by a step. Maybe something's changed and we can go in and help them to update that from there. So really our Healthy Habitats testing plan is those 4 simple key pillars, but they're really important. We build this so that we can make sure that your team understand how the rooms work. Not only how to troubleshoot it, but they can better understand those user workflows and what each workspace can do for them. Like I said at the beginning, making sure that we maximize the ROI on all of those rooms, but making sure as well that we keep the uptime of these rooms at a maximum. What we want to do now is we want to highlight the importance of this Healthy Habitats plan right now, thinking and remembering that these rooms might have sat dormant for 3 or 4 months. Some of them might have sat dormant for 6 months. Some of them have only been dormant for a month or 2. That's fine, whatever that might be. But to echo Craig's point at the very beginning of the presentation, it's really critical that we make sure and you make sure that all of this room technology is fully functional upon everyone's return to the office. We want to make sure that when everyone is there, they're getting the most out of this technology straight away to keep them feeling safe and secure, and to keep them feeling encouraged that all of the technology is there to support them. So we encourage everyone to please give us a call, come and have a chat, pop any questions, put your hand up, let's go through any of the details that you might want to know about the specifics of the Healthy Habitats. We're always more than happy to discuss anything in any more detail that you might need. And I have managed to keep it well under 20 minutes. I reckon that's a record for me. I've not rambled. And I thank you for your time. So I'm going to hand back to Eric, I believe, who's going to wrap it up.
Thanks, Dan. You make me laugh, my friend. That's great. You did a great job as always, and thanks to Craig and to Joel as well for their great presentations and walkthroughs. So we're going to go to our Q&A session now. We've had some great questions already published and put into the chat. So if you do have any additional questions, of course, please raise those now in the Q&A panel and note who you are and who you're directing the question to. So Alan was our first question, and I'm going to just go ahead and read it out because Craig's already answered it in the chat window. But Alan, you said, appreciate our thoughts before we all move back into the office. Is there a halfway? Organizations with remote working or distributed teams recognize the importance of periodically bringing their teams together, and they see the benefits of providing opportunities for team members to get to know each other as people in person as a way to counter the often very transactional virtual communications that we all are doing today. And Craig, great question. I know most are in a similar situation, which is true at the moment, with some of their staff working from the office, whereas most are still working from home. What he personally does is organize drop-in sessions in his calendar where anyone can drop in and join the meeting throughout the day for a chat and a catch-up. So I think a lot of people are discovering new ways to engage with their teams and their staff, and make sure that either through video or through, if they are going into the office, or a mix of the two, that they can pull people together. And I think we're just going to see that continue to happen, because I'm noticing too, even in our own meetings across the Cloud Collective, we'll have a few people potentially in one of the New South Wales offices where they're allowed to go in now, but then we'll still have people that are working remote because they're either more comfortable with that or the situation requires it at the time. And we're leveraging the technology to make that happen as well, so that there's at least as much communication as possible, both virtual and in person, and just leveraging the technology to make that happen. I think that's hopefully not too foreign for people to do that now, and will just become more commonplace as we go along. The next question was how do we handle high-touch devices like touch panels and booking panels and that sort of thing for COVID-safe environments? So I'll actually pass that over to the guys. Probably Craig, you maybe just kick it off, or Dan, either one, to talk about.
Sure, and that's a really great question. We're actually asked that question quite often. How do we deal with the fact that people are coming into our office, not just staff, but visitors who are essentially touching things? How do we keep them clean? And the answer to that is there's a couple of things that we do specifically here. So the first one being that before anyone walks through the door, we capture their details, and we're using a QR code, and we've built a really simple form to capture their name and their mobile number using Microsoft Forms. And so they come in, they scan the QR code with their mobile phone. We've captured their details. In terms of those high touch surfaces, though, things like the controllers for the rooms, first of all, having alcohol wipes at hand really does help. So anytime that anyone touches those surfaces, our process is the person wipes them down when they're done. So that's both guests and also staff members as well. So anytime anyone uses those rooms, they give them a wipe down. The second thing is Crestron specifically have developed an anti-bacterial surface for some of their products, and that surface is super smart, and essentially it works to create a safe touch zone, in that you don't have to constantly clean this surface. So if people are touching that with greasy, dirty mittens, as to say, dirty paws, that surface counteracts that, which is really cool. So we're starting to see those types of products be developed as well.
Excellent, thanks, Craig. That's great great response, and I think again, people are definitely going to be doing a lot more of that as well. That part of the world, from a business standpoint, I think is probably doing very well right now. And this is the wipes and different types of products that we're going to need to use in the new normal, so to speak. So, Alan also replied back to that that he's found, back on that original question, that he's found simple workshops for in-person connection, like once every 3 months or so, are really a great thing to do as well. So I think it's, again, we're going to have to be actively, consciously finding ways to pull people together in person as well, as much as we can within reason, so that we're not losing some of that human interaction, human touch, and being much more purposeful with those types of scenarios, most likely. So, which I think will only benefit us all, make us more productive in the end. So. Another question came through saying that we didn't see very many desk phones in our tour. And this particular customer wrote, they really want to get rid of desk phones as well. So how do we move our phones to Teams and to soft phones? I'll let one of the panel chime in on that one as well and give some of our great insight on that, because of course we all do that today. So.
And that's a really great question as well. I mean, when it comes to desk phones are still available for Teams today. Customers still like them. They're really great for common area phones, for meeting room phones, and for people that still want a desk phone. So there's plenty of options available from various different vendors. We have all of those vendors in our office today within our showroom. So you can view some of those using the virtual tour, using the link that will be shared at the end of the meeting. Generally speaking, though, when it comes to desk phones tend to tie people to desks. And that's a real big problem when we talk about COVID, because obviously with the majority of people now working from home, that would involve them physically coming into the office and, lifting and shifting that phone to their desk at home. I mean, a headset is what we typically recommend. That's what I use on a day-to-day basis. My headset talks to my computer and it talks to my mobile phone. It effectively enables me to use Teams regardless of where I am. And it's cabled as well, so I don't even need to keep the thing charged, because I'm rubbish at keeping things charged, which is a testament to my mobile phone being at 4% at the moment. But there you go. But yeah, a headset really offers that that portability, which is what Teams is all about, right? It's all about being able to work from anywhere, anytime that you like. And if we're locking users at desks with desk phones, we're not really sending the right message. So I'd strongly recommend headsets over handsets where possible. Of course, if you still want a handset because you want that ability, you know, to slam the handset down, they exist as well.
And I was going to chime in over the top there with Craig as well. So in addition to the headset conversation, that's absolutely right. Yeah, that's something that we actively encourage, the headset mentality and that portability, and it opens up that wider conversation. Surprise, surprise, talking about the training and the change management. It opens up that wider conversation of the most appropriate workflow and that flexible working for your users and the wider team. And yeah, obviously we encourage that this is done in the most detailed manner possible, with the right communications and the proper change management suite being applied, not only to teams, migrating to Teams, but migrating to a headset world as well.
Definitely. Thanks, Dan. And I think, just slam your headset down if you need to. This is not too hard because you want to break it, just like you would with a regular phone. So those are great insights, guys. Thanks very much for that. Another question that we had is, what are we going to do with the large giant LED wall in a post-COVID world? Well, I'd like to say that they just give it to me and put it up in my house. I don't know if I have a big enough space for that, but guys, how would you might respond to that?
Yeah, and we've already been using it in the office. Obviously, when that wall was put in prior to COVID, the whole idea was to bring people into this space and do local presentations, and then use the wall as to display PowerPoint slides or to bring in a remote attendee. What we've done now is we've actually used the space. So if people still want to come in and present Teams meetings, they absolutely can, and you can stand there. You can use the wireless mic using the camera that's in the ceiling as well, the pan tilt camera that we've got. You can stand there and do a presentation as though you're talking to a room of people, but everyone's just joined remotely. So that shift of people coming in person to view that content has now completely moved online. Certainly doesn't mean that we the LED wall gets any less usage. And of course, if all that fails, you can always plug the Xbox into it as well, because it's really great for that too.
Excellent. Thanks, Craig, for a little staff fun when people are in the office, which is great. So for Dan, we have a question for you. Will the Healthy Habitats that's a tongue twister. Will the Healthy Habitats testing plans actually include COVID suggestions?
To a degree, they do. Yes. ICOM specifically, obviously, we don't specialize in I suppose the health and safety side of the recommendations and the rules and regulations. However, the recommendations we put in the Healthy Habitats test plan, I guess, is who you can contact or who we can help put you in contact with to make sure that those rules are adhered to. We can give you the high level guidelines around how many people you can have in certain spaces. Obviously, we can go through and help measure those rooms out and those sort of high level recommendations, but we can on a deeper level put you in contact with the right people that can give you the right level of comfort that you might need.
Excellent. Thanks, Dan. And finally, our last question is, are there any specific things we can do to help monitor room usage and keep track of what's being done in the rooms? So.
Yeah, I might be able to jump in and answer that one. Right now, room usage can be, there's a couple of ways we can measure that. So via the Graph API, so if you're handy with the Graph API, you can pull that information out. So that I guess you need to look at two bits of information. So both the team calls as well as the booked rooms as well. So if you do hunt out there are some scripts you can find from some other MVPs as well. Some of Craig's mates, I guess I could say. You can find some scripts out there to help you with that. Otherwise, there are some things on the horizon coming from Microsoft about room occupancy to look out for, as well as Crestron as well. They are bringing out some monitoring on their cloud platform for actual people in the room and how often that's used as well. So they're not quite here yet, but they're on the roadmap.
Thanks, Joel. That's great. Well, that does wrap up the questions that we've had today, and I want to thank everybody for posing those. If we can move to the next slide, please, as we wrap up. So just a reminder about the competition. We've got an exciting competition here that we talked about earlier, that Joel talked about. So just remember that to celebrate at the end of the event series, and also to celebrate the launch of ICOM's new Sydney showroom, we've hidden an Easter egg inside our virtual tour of the showroom, so that Joel took you through. So if you go and find it, you'll be able to go into the draw to win a Poly Voyager 4200 headset. Again, helping you get to that soft phone type environment where you can work from anywhere, truly, with your team's environments and other collaboration tools. So, and a reminder that you have to just find that Polycom Eagle Eye Mini camera and click the link that will take you to the entry page for you to put yourself in for the draw. So please do that, and good luck. And Joel was doing such a great job of highlighting all the technology today, but just so you know, as you go through that virtual tour yourselves, and we encourage you all to do that, because it's quite fun to walk through the office and have a little bit more of a look and play around it. But each one of those buttons that you were seeing in the video will actually, if you gloss over them and click on them, they'll actually open up the type of technology that you're looking at in those rooms, which is really cool, because the guys on our ICOM team just did an absolute stellar job at kitting that office out. I've been fortunate enough to be in it a couple times now, and it's just an absolutely brilliant space and a way of how we can really look at the future of being back in the office, which is exciting. So if we could go to our final slide, please. So this is the last event in the series of Navigating the New Normal. Just as a reminder, we've had some great events prior to this each week over the last 4 weeks. First was the Securing the Flexible Workforce event, which was really about security, of course, certainly featuring a lot of our talent from the quorum side of the house, but really helping customers understand what they can do to make sure that their flexible workforce, the workforce that is remote, out on the road, and doing things differently in what we call our new normal, are being able to secure that and make sure that that environment and the data that they're accessing and the way that they're interacting with their colleagues and external customers is secure. The second event was the Future of Work and Managing the Shift. So again, that one was all about how work is changing and how we can better interact and manage that shift to both a mix of blended remote and on-site work staff, that sort of thing. And then the third event was taking Teams itself as a collaboration platform to the next level. And both of these two, the second and the third event, really featured some of our talent, again, from the ICOM side of the house, but also from the Atari side of the house. And then finally, of course, today's event. So all of these will still be available on demand. And for anybody that you want to share it with, if you've been actively listening yourself, and or for people that weren't able to attend the live events themselves. So we thank everybody for their time. Thank all of the speakers over the series, and our talents and marketing team at Cloud Collective for doing such a great job organizing these. And we'll look forward to having another series of events or other just individual events throughout the course of the year, and I might see you on some of those. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day.